Hey y'all, welcome back. It's Astronaut, and today we are going over a pretty fun expanded deck. This is going to be starring Dragonite V with the Dragon Gale attack doing 250 damage. And our goal with this deck against most matchups is to hit this Dragon Gale on our first turn going second, or our second turn if we go first. Puts on a lot of pressure, and it's really hard for other decks to keep up, especially with the moderately high HP that Dragonite has. So this is our main attacker. We play 2 copies of Dragonite, and let's just go over the rest of the list. So our other main stars of the deck, we are playing 1 copy of Arceus Dialga and Palkia-GX with its Altered Creation GX attack. For the rest of the game, our attacks do 30 more damage, and we take an extra prize card for each knockout. So this is probably the best GX attack that Pokemon printed, and certainly one of the strongest cards ever printed in the history of the TCG. Very, very much hated in its time in Standard because of how oppressive it was, but in Expanded it's not quite as oppressive, and actually Dragonite has started to take the lead more often in this deck, which is why we've reduced our count down to 1 copy when we used to be at 2 or 3 of these. We're also playing 1 copy of Naganadel and Guzzlord-GX with its Chaotic Order GX attack. So each game you get to decide whether you want to use Altered Creation or Chaotic Order. Chaotic Order, if you have 1 energy plus a double dragon attached, then you can turn all of your prize cards face up and take 2 prizes. So this is just an automatic take 2 prizes, doesn't matter what's in the active spot. Very useful, especially to close out games. And we love the high HP on both of those. Because they're worth 3 prizes, we don't want to put both into play and allow the opponent to take 2 knockouts and take all 6 prizes. So actually the 3 prize isn't a liability, since we only bench 1 of them, and at that point they still have to take 2 more knockouts to win. Other attackers and support Pokemon, we have 1 copy of Vikavolt V for Paralyzing Bolt. We can get that set up turn 1. We are also playing 1 Zeraora, which is a really useful support Pokemon to give all of our Pokemon with energy attached free retreat. Its Plasma Fist's attack is also okay. It does 160 with a Muscle Band, 180. We can knock out Crobats. We can knock out Dedenne. So it's okay, but we don't attack with it often. The other real key to this deck is Tapu Koko Prism Star with the Dance of the Ancients ability. And Tapu Koko, you can choose 2 of your benched Pokemon, attach a Lightning Energy to each of them, and if you do, you Lost Zone Tapu Koko. So this is just used to accelerate energy. If there are decks playing something like a Miltank that you can't fight through with your Pokemon GX and Pokemon V, then you can actually use it as an attacker and try and Mock Bolt. So it has some niche uses there, but it's really helpful to get the turn 1 attacks off, because we can attach 1 of our 4 copies of Double Dragon Energy, which is a double Rainbow Energy for Dragon Pokemon, and accelerate some of our Lightning Energy into play. And that way we can get a turn 1 Dragon Gale off, since it has a 1 Lightning in the attack cost. But for the rest of our support Pokemon, we are playing 1 copy of Sudowoodo, which limits our opponent's bench to 4 Pokemon. This is not something we're going to play very often, but there are matchups where this can just almost instantly win the game for you, unless they're able to use Guzma or Boss's Orders to bring it up right away and knock it out. And for draw, we are playing 2 copies of Dedenne. When you bench Dedenne, you discard your hand, draw 6. We are playing 1 copy of Crobat. When you bench it, you draw up to 6 cards in hand. And then 1 copy of Tapu Lele, which allows you to search for a supporter when you bench it, and also has an OK attack energy drive, which is similar to X-Ball from Mewtwo EX way back in the day. 20 times the amount of energy attached to both active Pokemon. But Tapu Lele has no weakness, which means that it is strictly better than Lumineon V. I've seen some people playing Lumineon in Expanded. You shouldn't. You should always play Tapu Lele. But that is all of our Pokemon. This deck, it hits hard, it hits fast, and you just keep the pressure up. You're trying to end basically every game on your third or fourth turn at the latest. So for the trainer cards for the deck, we can start with our supporters. The star supporter of the deck is Guzma Hala, and this is why the deck is so consistent at getting the turn 1 attack. You search your deck for a Stadium and put it into your hand, but when you play this card, you can also discard 2 from your hand, and we'll be doing that every time. And if you do, you can also search for a Pokemon tool and a special energy. So no matter what you're starting in the active spot, let's say that we're starting with Sudowoodo or Vikavolt or Zeraora, if we are able to get a Guzma Hala, that gets us our Stadium, Stormy Mountains, which allows us to accelerate a Pokemon onto the bench. It gets us a Floatstone to retreat our active, and it gets us a Double Dragon energy, which means that all we need in order to attack with like a turn 1 Dragon Gale, for example, is to get 1 additional lightning energy onto this Dragonite using either Tapu Koko or Max Elixir. So Guzma Hala, super important to the deck, and it's something that we're trying to use on our first turn basically every game. We're also playing 2 copies of Guzma to bring up benched Pokemon and knock them out. 1 copy of Leon to give us an extra 30 damage boost. I actually end up using the Leon in this video. It was pretty fun, and something that I was surprised by. I wasn't sure that this was worth the space, especially since you're doing so much already with Dragonite, but it allows you to hit 280 with Dragonite against some key matchups that your Choice Belt won't let you hit because it's Pokemon V. So I actually really like the Leon, and I would keep it in here for now. Another supporter, we are playing 1 copy of Mallow Lana. It's a switch and heal card on a supporter, just helpful to have. And 1 copy of N, we all know N. 1 copy of Pokemon Ranger, removing all effects of attacks on both players and their Pokemon. So that is really helpful to get rid of item lock, as long as it's not in the discard pile already, because then you can't use VS Seeker. Gets rid of item lock, gets rid of special energy lock if they're using something like Noivern GX. It gets rid of our opponent's altered creations, but the thing to keep in mind is that it also gets rid of our own altered creations. So if we're using Pokemon Ranger, we can't have already used our ADP attack, because then we'll be handicapping ourselves. And then finally for supporters, 2 copies of Research, discard, draw 7. We're playing 3 VS Seeker to get our supporters back. I don't think you need more than 3 because the games are pretty quick. We are playing 4 Quick Ball to get more Pokemon, and 4 Tag Call. And this is the other engine of the deck, and it's the reason why this deck works. Search your deck for up to 2 tag team cards. Not Pokemon, not trainers, tag team cards. Reveal them and put them into your hand. Which means that if you hit a turn 1 Tag Call, you can get your Stadium, you can get a Pokemon plus Guzma Hala, which allows you to get Stadium, Energy, and Tool. So a Tag Call basically unlocks our entire deck. It is maybe the best card in the deck for this specific engine. I wouldn't play it without 4 Tag Call. I think at that point, just play a different deck. We are also playing 3 copies of Trainers Mail for extra consistency, or Max Elixir to get extra energy and hit that turn 1 attack. I know there are some lists playing 3 Max Elixir, even though you are pretty consistent with hitting your elixirs as well as hitting your turn 1 attacks. Dropping down to 3 Elixir feels pretty bad to me because it is just so important that you are applying pressure early, because if you're not, most other decks at this point can overpower you. But you have speed on your side, so Max Elixir gives you that speed. 1 copy of Field Blower to get rid of bad stadiums or tool cards. Computer Search just to get whatever we want on that first or second turn. And later in the game it's nice too, but especially for that early consistency. And then for our tools, we are playing one Choice Belt to do 30 more to Pokemon V, one Muscle Band to do 20 more to everything. We are playing one copy of Forest Seal Stone, which gives us our only V-Star power, allows us to search for any card, and then 2 copies of Float Stone to get our Pokemon out of the active spot. And that's the deck. It is surprisingly fun. I know that there may be a bit of exhaustion around ADP. This is not an ADP deck. This is a Dragonite deck. And ADP is in here as an extra feature that you can use depending on the matchup. So the more heavily I started leaning into Dragonite as I was playing, I noticed I was having more fun, I was winning a bit more, and I was also winning more convincingly. So I think the heavy Dragonite approach is the best way to go. And I did my 20 game challenge just like I did with Mew VMAX and Meloetta, and I went 18-2 on the ladder with this Dragonite deck. So it is definitely really strong right now, can compete with all the top archetypes, and I think we should just check it out. So let's jump into the game. Jumping into game 1, and we are opening with Dragonite. We have a pretty good hand, I would say, especially for going second with the research. So on our first turn, we're definitely going to Quick Ball, probably get rid of the Lightning Energy, and then Max Elixir from there, attach a Double Dragon. But we are up against Regidrago, which is definitely one of the top decks in Expanded. I think it's the most represented deck in Expanded right now, which is so I'm glad we got it first here on the ladder. So we can look through the deck. I would love to get a knockout on this benched Regidrago. That would be amazing. Let's see. I don't have an Escape Rope. Don't have Guzma. So looks like I'm just going to be going for this knockout active. We missed the Max Elixir, but that's okay as long as we hit a basic Pokemon, and we do. So let's Stormy Mountains and go get ourselves the Tapu Koko Prism. We still have a Dedenne if we want to dig for a Floatstone, which we definitely do. So let's just thin our deck as much as possible. Some good cards to get down. At this point, I think the ADP isn't going to make any difference in this matchup. So we could go for the Naganadel and Guzzlord. We could go for Zeraora. I'm going to go for the Nag and Guzz. And I think that's fine because our goal at this point, we want to take 2 prizes this turn, 2 prizes next turn with Dragonite, and then include with the Chaotic Order GX to draw our final 2 prizes. But we are going for a Crobat, which I guess is better than Dedenne because I'm going to be drawing 6 cards anyway, and it still leaves me the option of Dedenne. And I hit the Floatstone. That's exactly what I needed. So things are going really well. Let's Crobat, draw 6. We have a Choice Belt, Muscle Band, Tag Call. None of those are actually very effective, but we do have the Computer Search, which is nice. Next turn, Guzma Hala isn't too bad, and ADP we can always discard at this point. So I would say there's nothing left to do. We have the Computer Search for next turn. We just want to retreat into Dragonite, take this first knockout, and probably use the Tapu Koko Prism Star to attach energy card to both of the benched Pokemon after we retreat. I'm thinking about whether to use Violent Appetite just to get rid of the ADP. I think that's fine because we have other cards that we can discard with Computer Search, so we're never going to use ADP at this point since we're attacking turn 1 with Dragonite. Might as well just thin it out of the deck so we don't redraw into it off of an N or a Marnie or something later in the game. But I would, I was going to say I'd like to see a a tool card attached to the Naganadel and Guzzlord, but we may actually want a Floatstone on it later, so I'm fine with holding off for now. They're going to evolve into the V-Star, take a knockout on this Dragonite, and on our turn, let's see, we need to hit 280. So what we're looking for, unfortunately that Floatstone is on the bench, but we're looking for a knockout active with the Dragonite. We could use our Leon to boost from 250 to 280. The other way that we could do it is Guzma and bring out the benched Regidrago V. And depending on what attack they use, we may have to go for the Guzma. So we have our Double Dragon in hand, that's fantastic. We have Max Elixir thin a card, that's fine. But mainly we're looking at this Tapu Lele. And really it just comes down to what attack they're using. If they manage to get a Choice Belt on the active and use Rolling Iron, that means that we definitely can't get a knockout. So that would force us to Guzma instead of hitting the active. But let's see, they could go for the Mega Rayquaza, Timeless GX. Energy Hurricane doesn't seem very good. Okay, so just the Timeless GX, and that's fine with me because on this next turn, I imagine they just Rolling Iron and force us to Guzma, but now that they've benched a Tapu Lele and a Crobat, that's 4 prizes for us right there, as well as we have the Chaotic Order GX if we need it. So I'm feeling pretty good about this. We took the first 2 prizes, and that is really important because this Dragonite deck is all about hitting hard, hitting fast. And they do hit us with the Rolling Iron. That's okay though, because again, we do have the Tapu Lele for Guzma. So really all that we're looking for is an extra energy at this point. Let's get Zeraora down and give ourselves free retreat. An extra Double Dragon. Oh, we don't have it in deck. That definitely complicates things. So I guess then, okay, going for a research instead and just starting with the Chaotic Order. I'm fine with that too. If we had another Double Dragon, that would that would seal it up basically. So we might draw one off the prizes. And with the Chaotic Order, actually, we guaranteed draw it off the prizes. So I'm feeling pretty good about this play. Maybe should have Trainers Mailed, maybe not. That's okay. Field Blower, get rid of the Floatstone as well because we have free retreat now. And let's Chaotic Order, turn our prize cards face up and get both of those Double Dragon energy out of the prizes. All we need is Double Dragon or Lightning Energy and Choice Belt plus a Guzma, and we can take a knockout. But they're probably going to go for an N here, as expected. And at that point, it comes down to what do we draw off this N? We thinned out as much as we could without using the Dedenne. Maybe I should have... No. Going for Dedenne is a bad move because you always want it as an option later on. Let's see. They can knock out anything because of the Dragon Ascent. So I guess just give them Crobat. We're not taking a knockout active no matter what, so we know that they're just going to Rolling Iron. So let's see what we get off the top deck. It comes down to this card. The Forest Seal Stone, amazing. So let's make sure we attach it to a Pokemon V, very important, I've made that mistake before. Then Star Alchemy, get ourselves Guzma. And we can bring up Tapu Lele or Crobat and knock it out with the Chaotic Order GX. Or not Chaotic Order, the Jet Pierce for 180. So we took, let's see, it was 3 turns, I think, going second, and managed to take the win. So that was a pretty fun game 1. Let's jump into game 2. We're starting with Naganadel Guzzlord. Not amazing, but we have the tag call, which is all that we need turn 1. They're starting Lone Shadow Rider with the big charm, but that doesn't make a difference against Dragonite. We have an opportunity for a donk here. So yes, start with the tag call. That's happening every time. So get Guzma Hala, and let's just confirm that we have everything that we need. We have the Dragonite, we have the Stadium, we have Floatstone. Sounds good. So Guzma Hala, we can get rid of both supporters. It doesn't really matter as long as we are able to... Yeah, as long as we are able to get into our Dragonite V's attack, we are not going to be playing a second turn. So we can start with the Stormy Mountains, get our Dragonite down. And then this is a cool play here. We have the Forest Seal Stone, Star Alchemy for a Lightning Energy, and then Quick Ball away the Lightning Energy to get it in the discard so that we can activate Tapu Koko Prism Star. Dance of the Ancients, put that 1 Lightning on Dragonite, and there we go with the turn 1 donk versus Shadow Rider. That's pretty fun. I was winning a lot of games with this Dragonite deck in the early turns, and that turn 1 Dragon Gale 250, it's just so strong, and it's really hard for them to come back from that, especially when you can do it every turn. So we're going to choose to go second here in game 3. We're starting Zeraora, that's okay. We have the tag call, and when we're going second, tag call is all that we need turn 1 to be successful. Up against Lucky Egg, I wonder what this could be. I played these games a little while ago, so I don't have a perfect memory of what happened, but we'll draw our extra card. That's good. Opening Crobat, that is also good for us, because if they don't move it out of the active, that's 2 prizes with Dragonite. Oh, it's a mirror match with Lucky Egg. Very interesting. And Order Pad. That... You know, I'm not sure Order Pad is a good play in these decks. And we have the tag call, we have the Guzma Hala. Let's... So I can go for the ADP Altered Creation GX this turn. I could try and go for a Dragonite and take a knockout active. Let's see. I think the ADP is fine, because then we just need 2 knockouts to win. And it's pretty rare that these decks play Ranger, because it turns off your own ADP. So either way, Guzma Hala turn 1 is all that this deck ever wants. Let's use the Stormy Mountains, get ourselves a Dragonite. Okay, going for the turn 1 Dragonite, I guess. So I should not have attached that energy. That was a misplay. You always can attach the energy, so why not wait until you see if you hit the Max Elixir. So we'll take a knockout this turn. I could bench ADP. I don't really think I have to. I kind of want to hold the Max Elixir for a second Dragonite next turn. So let's just take our first 2 prizes. And the nice part about setting it up this way is that if we are able to get into another Guzma Hala, find that Choice Belt on our next turn, I believe Oh wait, Choice Belt only is for V Pokemon. No, so I don't think we can take a one-hit knockout on this Guzzlord, which means that we are going to have to go for the Rotom and then probably end with Chaotic Order. So on this next turn, I started saying all that. So silly. Look at that special card in my hand, the Leon. Leon allows us to push up to 280, even against Pokemon GX. So as long as we keep our hand, the Leon allows us to take a knockout active. We can use the Stormy Mountains to set up probably the Naganadel and Guzzlord of our own. And at that point, I think we just have the game sealed up. We definitely need to hit that Max Elixir though, just in case they N us to 1 and we break out of that. So what I want to do, I want to start with the Stormy Mountains, then Trainers Mail, then Max Elixir, and then we can Leon and take the knockout active. At that point, probably bench the ADP as well, just so it's out of our deck. If the Jirachi Prism Star... This is a very interesting version of this deck. Is this just a Rotom V-Star deck? With a teched Naganadel and Guzzlord? Maybe. Well, either way, we know what we're looking for. Guzma will do it too, but we have the Leon in hand, so might as well go for that play. Field Blower, get rid of the Float Stone and the Stadium, but that's good for us actually because we have another Stadium in hand. That's not as good for us. I don't love that. But I guess if we draw into the Lightning Energy, then that's all we need. So attach the Lightning to give ourselves free retreat, Stormy Mountains, and go get ourselves the Naganadel Guzzlord. I guess before attaching the Lightning, I probably should have used the Trainer's Mail. I like Trainer's Mail first. That's okay. Because it's more important that we hit the Max Elixir, so we want to thin the Trainer's Mail. We can attach Forest Seal Stone. That's pretty good. So Forest Stone on the Dragonite. And I probably have to use that this turn, I imagine. I guess it locks up the game next turn if they aren't able to knock out the Dragonite, but I think if they don't knock out the Dragonite, we just win anyway. So Star Alchemy, let's get the... Okay, I like this. Get the Tapu Koko and put some more energy on the field. Just make it so that all we need is a double dragon and we have the win. Hit them with the Leon. At this point, you can bench the ADP. I still would have, I think. But it's not terrible. I guess they could bring it up active and try and stall us out for a little bit. Still probably better to bench it just in case they N and we draw back into the ADP instead of a more useful card. But Dragonite, very powerful. That Dragon Gale attack, it just does so much work, especially with the extra tools like Leon adding in there to boost up our damage. It's really strong against a lot of decks in the format. I'm going to be doing a tier list and uploading that soon so you can see where on the tier list this Dragonite deck falls. It will definitely be on there though, because since ADP was released, this has been a top tier deck in both standard and expanded. But once Dragonite came onto the scene, it just allowed us to boost our damage output by so much compared to what the deck had previously. So I think we've just got this locked up. Yeah, and there's the concession. So that's it for our games for today. Before we do our final look through of the deck and talk about potential changes to the list, I want to say please like the video, please subscribe, makes a really big difference to me as a very small content creator, but someone who just wants to share the love of Pokemon. I would really appreciate it. But with that, let's jump into our final analysis. There aren't many cards that I would change in this list. I think this is a pretty solid list already. But if you are looking to add some different Pokemon into the mix, these are the only 4 that I would consider. So first, and this one's kind of spicy, the Giratina V for the Shred attack, just to have something that will go through walls like Duraludon, as well as things like Miltank. Shred, very, very interesting. I don't think there are too many places where you need it, but if you know that in a particular tournament there's going to be a lot of a certain deck that needs that Shred attacker, it's a good option to consider. You can also play one Girafarig for the Get Lost attack. Put 2 cards from your opponent's discard pile into the Lost Zone. And this is mainly for the Regidrago VSTAR matchup, because they will put all their attackers in the discard pile. When you Lost Zone their attackers, they can no longer use them, which means that you can lock them out of their best attacks on the first turn and make the matchup a lot more difficult for them. It also only gives up 1 prize, so I like Girafarig. I think if I was going to add any of these 4 Pokemon, this would be the first one I would add. The next one, just for some extra consistency, is Oranguru, and this is really here for the mid-late game. And with this deck, the mid-late game is turn 3, turn 4, as we saw in the video. But with the Instructability, if that's on your bench, it's just a little extra protection against N, Roxanne, or any other type of hand disruption that might lock you out of the game. Because if you're not able to draw back into a Dedenne or a Crobat or a Lele, then you could be in a rough spot if they take a knockout and end you down to 1 or 2 cards. So Instruct gives us protection against that. It seems all right. I don't think the deck needs it, but if you're really worried about those late game end of 1s or end of 2s, this is the card for you. And then our final Pokemon that we could add is one Mr. Mime for the Bench Barrier ability. And that's only important because of Dragon Gale. It does 20 to each of your benched Pokemon, not your opponent's, which effectively lowers the HP of all of your attackers. One Mr. Mime would win. So that's it for the Pokemon. For trainer cards, I could potentially swap out Computer Search for Dowsing Machine. I like Computer Search just because this is an early aggression deck, and when you want early aggression, you want to search from your deck, not your discard, versus some other decks that are looking for more of a mid-late game. They want to outlast their opponent or get that final resource on turn 5 or turn 6. Dowsing Machine is really helpful in that case. You could also play a couple copies of Battle Compressor. And Battle Compressor is just good in every deck. It's one of the best cards in Expanded. A lot of people think it should be banned. I don't think it should be banned. I think there are other cards that are a bit more of a problem, but it's definitely one to keep an eye out on. But search your deck for 3 cards, discard them. It means you can put supporters in the bin for VS Seeker. You can put energy to allow you to use Tapu Koko Prism Star. You can get rid of attackers or just cards you don't need. Battle Compressor, always good for consistency, but I've found that with the Tag Call engine, you don't need it very often. You can also play 1 copy of Chaotic Swell. I'm not a huge fan of this one, but I've seen some successful lists playing 1 Chaotic Swell. And the reason is I think you just have a better stadium already. Your Stormy Mountains gets you everything you need, which is Pokemon. That's it. You just need Pokemon in play. Why play anything else? I might increase to a 2nd copy of Field Blower before I add a Chaotic Swell. And then finally is Hisuian Heavy Ball to look at your face down prizes, find a basic Pokemon, put it into your hand. You are exclusively playing basic Pokemon, and it is with 12 in the deck, it is very, very likely that at least one is prized. And sometimes it's an important one of, maybe it's the Lele you need to find a Guzma for game. Maybe it's your ADP or your Naganadel Guzzlord. Maybe it's your Prism Star. But no matter what it is, Heavy Ball allows you to get it out of the deck. If I was playing the Girafarig Lost Zone aspect to the deck, I would probably want to add the Heavy Ball as well, since we don't want that Giraffe to be prized. But that's the deck. This has been running really smoothly for me. Again, I won 18 out of 20 games on the ladder, so I definitely encourage you to try it out for yourself. I have the list down in the description, so check it out. And thank you so much for joining. My final expanded tier list is going to be up on the channel soon, so keep an eye out for that, and I will catch you next time.